Hey y'all, welcome back to the DG Outdoors channel. In this video, we're going to go through modern hunting camouflage. Okay, I have one set of military camouflage, which just came out a couple years ago, and I wore it hunting before, so we're going to talk about that. But then I'm going to talk about the evolution of camouflage from the vintage to now, and show you guys patterns and talk about them. So, the first pattern that I'm going to talk about, guys, is the U.S. military's multi-cam. This stuff is awesome. It's just being issued. A lot of foreign militaries are adopting this pattern too and putting their own spin onto it. But they like this pattern because it is a multi-terrain pattern. You guys can blend it into the desert. It's got a little bit of green here to break up your outline in multi-terrain environments, y'all. It's got white, brown, and the thing is, guys, it fades together. It's not just solid blotches, y'all. Fades together. Got these on eBay. Okay, these are actually U.S. Air Force issued pants, and then I have a jacket for them too. So this isn't really about, military camouflage. I've done reviews on these before. It's just about what you can wear hunting, and these are going to be kind of expensive unless you guys find them on eBay. And you're going to pay a pretty penny for these things too. But you guys can see how the camo pattern kind of fades in and out and blends together. It's pretty cool. So I wore these things deer hunting, which is why I threw them in there. And but now let's get into the more traditional hunting camo. Now, the one big thing about the tradition from the vintage hunting camo to now is computer generated pictures. Okay, and the computer world changed everything. I know Kmart used to have a pattern called Photo Flash, which was literally squares of pictures of trees and stuff that they blended together to make a camouflage pattern. One of the biggest transitions you guys are going to see is through mossy oak. Okay, so when my vintage camo, I showed this one off. Came out in 1996. It's called the mossy oak breakup pattern. Okay, this was revolutionary because it was a computer generated pattern, not painted on, and it showed a lot of depth and shadow into your pattern. Now, 1996, in order for it to be a modern camouflage pattern, it's got to be older than 20 years. So then they revamped mossy oak breakup into this pattern, 2002. This came out. Okay, you guys can see a lot more depth to the pattern. Why they went with black, I'll never understand. One thing I know is this works really well in a ground blind, and that's normally where I wear it. And I wear it around town. Now, the computer generated pictures, you guys can see the leaves are 3D on here. It's a pretty cool pattern. And I really, really like this. Okay. Then they came out with mossy oak breakup infinity. And this was the first pattern that you could actually look at the contrast of the pattern and look like you are looking into the woods. If you're in a tree stand, it looks like you can see straight through behind you into the other trees and stuff. This pattern was really, really cool when it first came out. I had multiple shirts, multiple pants, everything in this pattern because when it came on clearance for like $3 a shirt and pants, I bought a bunch of them. Got even some pants that are here. The cool thing about this one is just the depth and contrast, and there's a bunch of acorns on there. It was a little bit darker. It wasn't as dark as the breakup original revamp that I just showed you guys like this, but it was still pretty revolutionary for its time here. Okay. Now, when you guys talk about that, these patterns right here are really good for the fall, but what about the spring and summer? Well, then you have mossy oak obsession, which obsession is just like breakup, but a lot more green and a lot lighter grays, and they look more like trees. Okay, and I can't exactly remember when this pattern came out, but it's extremely popular for early season deer hunters and like turkey hunters and stuff in the spring. And it's just an all around great pattern because there ain't too many camo patterns for when it's summertime, unless you're going to wear like M81 Woodland or something like that. Not too many. They're all tailored to the fall. Now, they revamped this pattern to look like this. This is the new mossy oak obsession. Came out a couple years ago. The differences is this is marketed by the National Wild Turkey Federation. These are game winner pants. They're a little bit faded, but if you guys can see the difference between the patterns here, okay, a lot more openness to the pattern, bigger leaves, and yeah. So this is the new stuff. I have hats and gloves and all kinds of stuff in this pattern right here. Okay. Another thing, like I said, is just the detail in these camo patterns are awesome. Okay, now here's ones for the duck hunters. I did a duck hunting camo with the vintage duck hunter Vietnam type camo to mossy oaks, shadowgrass blades, shadowgrass blades is what this is called. This pattern is awesome. I shot a squirrel in it last year. I mean, just the detail in here. Look at the depth. You guys can see the grass and the grass underneath it. So when you're hunting ducks and waterfowl, and there's newer patterns they just came out with. I just don't have any, like Mossy Oak Shadowgrass Habitat or Mossy Oak Country DNA, I think is what it's called. And I saw all this stuff on their website last night before I decided to do this video. But I got this at Walmart. Still pretty cool. But it just comes to show you that you're virtually going to become invisible. Now, does all this modern camouflage work in every single environment? No, it doesn't. And that's the issue with that we're learning about with the, the multicam is it's not exactly going to work in every single environment like they claim it to be. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Duck hunting, camo, hunting in grass. The reason I got this is, my parents have a huge field, and I used to sit in the middle of that field and hunt and stuff like that, and I still do that. I've got ground blinds out there. So, for a while there, everybody was pushing like 0405 HD, high definition, 3D camouflage. That was a big thing. And, they came out with Realtree hardwood. Yes, the Budweiser hat. My brother gave it to me for my birthday. This is the Realtree HD, or Realtree Hardwoods HD. So it showed a lot more contrast. The limbs looked more real and all that stuff with it. And all great around pattern. The first pair of camouflage coveralls I ever had when I was like 10, I wore it for years till the zipper broke, was Realtree Hardwoods, and it was painted, just painted. It was a lot more dull than this, not as sharp to detail, all that kind of stuff, guys. Pretty cool. But like I said, everybody was pushing, HD style camouflage, more three-dimensional stuff. And at that same exact time, it came out with, for just a couple years, 3D Fusion by Outfitters Ridge. This is just a little bag of, toiletry bag or whatever. But my first kind of set of camouflage that I got for Christmas one year was this stuff, and it didn't last very long. But look at the 3D Fusion. I mean, computer graphics all the way. You can see the depth in the pattern and all that stuff, and I want to throw that out there. Because they would come up with like Realtree all-purpose camo and then Realtree all-purpose HD camo. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a thing they went through. And like this, Realtree all-purpose right here. This is supposed to be the world's most versatile camo pattern that was ever invented. And this is even the Realtree AP, which stands for all-purpose HD, guys. So it's a lot more 3D. The trees on here would look more realistic. There was more depth to the pattern. The thing about Realtree was, okay, they're not really set for hunting in the spring. They're more of a darker tan camo, so hunting in the fall is where you'd want to use them. Okay, but they had that. Okay. And then they revamped another pattern. If you guys watched my last video, I talked about Realtree Extra. Well, they revamped the Realtree Extra. And this pattern has a lot more openness to the pattern. They say it can blend in with a lot more terrain, whether you're up in a tree stand, sitting on the ground, things like that, because of the openness to the pattern. They started adding like pine leaves and all kinds of stuff to this pattern. And I bought coveralls in this stuff, boots, gloves. I had everything matching. I thought it was a really good camo pattern. You know, they say it worked good in the early spring. The thing is, you don't have a lot of green in it, so you can't really, like, it works. Trust me, it works. It's just, if I was going to hunt early season, I'd want a pattern that was more green, and in the fall, less green. So then Mossy Oak came out with one of their best camo patterns ever. Mossy Oak Country. Mossy Oak Country has so much detail in this pattern, and the 3D look of it and all that stuff, you guys, and computer generated. This stuff is pretty cool. In my opinion, I mean, everybody liked it, but I thought it was a little too dark. A little too dark for me. But, you know, that's just my opinion. But this is Breakup Country. So again, it's another thing of Breakup. So when they went from, you know, let me try to find it again. Breakup Country went from this right here to this right here. A lot more detail. And again, they just advanced with the technology they were able to advance with. A lot of this stuff is actual photos of limbs and trees and stuff, and then they turn it into a camo pattern. It's pretty cool. I like it. Mossy Oak came out with, and I have jackets and pants that match this because I hunt out of ground blind. 2016. I believe that's when the eclipse came out. And the day that the eclipse happened, they marketed their camo to drop on that day. Mossy Oak Eclipse Camouflage. It's Realtree or Mossy Oak Country with a black overlay, and this was specifically designed to wear in a ground blind because a lot of hunters would come in the ground blind and just wear black anyways. So they made a camouflage pattern tailored to that. Okay, so this was pretty cool. I have a long sleeve shirt in this stuff, like I said. It's pretty neat because you guys can see the Realtree or the Mossy Oak Country pattern in here, but you're gonna have the black if you really need it to blend in with your ground blind, so you're blacked out. And that's the thing. Until then, they didn't market. There wasn't a camouflage for ground blind hunting, so I had to pick some of this stuff up when it came out. The last and newest camo pattern that I have is Realtree Edge. Now they may have came out with a new pattern right now, but I'm not sure. But I bought this last year before hunting season. This is Realtree Edge. Okay, they're getting way more versatile in their depths of their camo patterns. 3D. It's got, I mean, if you're hunting by rocks and things like that, I guess it'll work too. But they've got birch trees on here and oak leaves and all kinds of stuff. Okay, and if you guys really want to see the detail in this pattern, I have a moisture wicking shirt here that isn't quite as faded as these pants here. And it looks like this. This is supposed to give you the edge on the competition or help you blend in better. Does it work? Probably. Do I know that it works completely? I'm not sure. I mean, the pattern looks cool, and there's a lot more limbs and less opening to the pattern as the Realtree Extra, but they kind of blended everything together. One thing this does not have is the pine, well, maybe that's the pine leaves right there, the pine limbs on there. But it's a good all-purpose camo for early spring, late fall, you know. And but here's just a look at the modern hunting camo and kind of the evolution of how things have gone. A lot more depth, a lot more detail, a lot more computer work, actual pictures, things like that, y'all. But I haven't made a 15-minute video me talking about stuff in a very long time, so I'm going to get out of here. So y'all remember, like, comment, subscribe. Jesus loves you. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.